The sun came up, which is always a good thing for everybody in this room included. So our guys were eager to get back to work yesterday. Good energy at practice yesterday. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we can learn from that game and need to improve on, and got a lot of guys dedicated and committed to doing that. And our biggest goal, we have completely turned the page as a team, and our sole focus, as it should be, is to do everything within our power to beat Kansas. Injury update: Chris Brown, his forearm fracture is going to need surgery, so he will be out about 6 weeks. Colin Johnson is continuing to be evaluated, has not been diagnosed with a concussion. He will lift today and see how that goes. Jeffrey McCulloch did dislocate his shoulder. He will be out for the Kansas game, probably a couple weeks. I don't believe it to be season ending. Juwan Mitchell did sprain his elbow. Pretty significant sprain. Got an MRI on that. As of now, though, we don't think that will limit him too severely, as the week progresses. Questions?
Coach, after watching film, were the missed tackles as glaring as it kind of seemed as you're watching the game because they were all the big plays? And with that said, I mean, it sounds trite, but do you do anything extra, moving forward?
The answer is yes. They were glaring. Really good athletes. We've got good athletes too that need to be able to tackle better, and we've got to teach them how to do that. So even though we weren't in pads yesterday, did spend a good 10-15 minutes work. There's still drills you can do in tackling in terms of angles and leverage and all of that. So and we'll tackle live in practice tomorrow. And again, we're so banged up. And defensively, it was not a great decision on my part, in retrospect, to limit the tackling these last few weeks in practice, and it showed. And we're going to have to find a way to keep our guys healthy, but also get some quality reps because we need to improve in that area.
Middle, Brian.
Tom, 6 games in, you know what the defensive numbers are, but my question is, what is fixable and what just is what it is at this point?
Everything's fixable. I think the biggest thing, we knew we had to play more one high defense against their offense based on them being able to attack the middle of the field when you're in a 2 high shell with a lot of their pop passes, misdirection pop passes, seams, all of that. When you do that, you've got to contain the quarterback, and we did not do a good job of that. And we knew that was an area of concern going in. But that is fixable, 100% fixable. It's just a continued reinforcement of the details.
I guess I was thinking more big picture, not just this one game, but 6 games left. You said, y'all can still get to the Big 12 championship game. What in your mind are you and Todd talking about? We've got to change X, Y, or Z.
Well, I don't know. Change is the right word. Get better, improve, develop. Those are all words that come to mind. I think there is a, with all the young guys playing, that we've got to simplify moving forward. Not that we haven't been trying to these last few weeks. We have. I think we only had 4 or 5, open field first and second down calls on defense, a couple base zone coverages and a couple blitzes. So we got to let our guys play fast. We've got to let them play fearless, unafraid to make mistakes, and so that's probably the biggest thing is we've got to be able to get those guys playing fast and not thinking, and the only way to do that is if they're 100% sure in everything that they're doing, and if that means, limiting, what we call, then so be it. But we got to play fast and play aggressive.
Stay in the middle. Kirk.
Yeah, you mentioned Saturday you knew what the what was. You got to figure out the why. And I don't know if it's more than the missed tackling. Was there anything else that you feel like the team needs to address, like fundamentals of tackling and the special teams decisions that hurt your field position?
Yeah, the decision making, certainly special teams. There's not a guy back there that we would rather have than Devin Duvernay in terms of his trust level. I think he would admittedly say, got caught up in the moment and was trying to make a play. I think the fact that he was so close on either the first or second one that we got out to the 35-yard line or something, kind of gave him some confidence. But obviously when you field the balls where he fielded them, you're not giving your return team a chance. So, yeah, we've got to make better decisions, and the best way to learn is by doing. And I think he certainly understands. Not that he didn't understand before, but I think the magnitude of those decisions certainly have changed his mindset, so to speak. But I think that's the biggest. And to answer your question, the why, I obviously, with him, it's trying to make a play, trying to do more than your job because of the perceived importance of that game, especially for a senior. And so we've got to control those emotions better and not let those emotions affect our decision making.
Was there a bigger why answer though?
I don't think so. I think again, I think defensively we didn't play as aggressive as we could have. Some uncertainty at some positions and some key spots. And then I think there was a bit of a frustration that set in offensively, which caused some adverse effects. I was actually proud of, we went in, what did we have, 3 points and 86 yards of offense in the first half and scored 24 points in the second half. And although it certainly didn't look like a well-oiled machine, at least we found a way to get the ball in the end zone 3 times.
On your right, Joe.
How did their how did their defending of your opening script, including kind of limiting the perimeter screen, affect how you called the rest of the game? And then what else did they do to limit y'all to 3 points and less than 100 yards in the first half?
Yeah, I mean, that was a quick adjustment. If they're going to spend a one-high defense on the bubble screen stuff, then you've got to go play backside, which is why you saw us trying to go to the X receiver a little bit more after the first couple series. So, it's a good plan by them, but we certainly have adjustments. And what else did they do? They played better than us. I mean, I don't have a good answer. They flew to the football. They were very sure tacklers. We didn't make very many people miss in space. And they did a decent job up front, of spilling the ball in the run game to the unblocked guy. When you live in the RPO game, you're going to deal with safeties and nickels that are unblocked. And if the ball gets handed off, then at times they're going to be the unblocked defender, and they're going to be in space, and they did a great job of tackling in space.
Back in the middle, Longhorn.
Coach, I have two questions, and both were kind of sack related. From the defensive side of the ball, second game that you guys haven't been able to get to the quarterback, or at least get him down as far as that goes. What's your concern level about that? The second one, obviously, is the 9 sacks. What were they doing that was kind of so effective that made it hard to adjust to that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we got to the quarterback quite a bit. I mean, we forced a red zone interception. I think the other interception that he threw was under pressure as well. We got our hands on him quite a bit. I mean, that's a slippery dude back there, and he's a great player. So we got to him. We didn't get him down. So I don't know that the concern level is DEFCON 5 just yet. Obviously, we've got to do a better job when we are back there of getting those kind of guys down. But that's a tall order when you're talking about that caliber of an athlete. And then I don't know that it was a whole lot that they did. There was nothing that they did that we hadn't prepared for. I think the speed of it, especially on third down, they lined up in bear, covered both the center, both guards and the center, ran a lot of twist games. We had seen that on film, didn't execute it well. I thought the offensive staff did a great job of adjusting our third down protections at halftime to account for that. But and then again, there's a lot of things that go into sacks. We had backs that missed blitzers. We had receivers that ran routes at improper depths. We had quarterback hang on to the ball too long. And then also, we've got a quarterback that can scramble and is usually pretty good at getting himself out of trouble with his feet. And they brought him down for -1, -2 at times when he tried to scramble. And should he have thrown that away? I don't know, but he's usually pretty good at getting away from some of that stuff.
On your right, Cedric.
Yeah, Tom, two questions. Number one, what, if anything, did you learn about you and your coaching staff this weekend? Number two, when you talked to the team yesterday, what did you see in their eyes? Is your leadership in the right mental space moving forward?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we had a leadership meeting last night. The guys are in a great place. The thing about this rivalry game is we play it in the middle of the season, unlike a lot of rivalry games that are played at the end of the year. So you better be able to bounce back if it doesn't go your way, and put it behind you. Learn from it, certainly. Use mistakes as feedback. As I said in the post-game press conference, it's never a failure if you learn from your mistakes and you improve. And so I really liked the way they came out and practiced yesterday. And what I learned about myself and our staff, I felt like we could make some adjustments, some needed adjustments. I think I learned that our kids play really, really hard for their coaches, which is really important. I learned that there's no finger pointing when adversity hits. Our guys come together, they rally, they give great effort for their coaches. So, that was encouraging to see.
Over here on your left, Chip.
Tom, what was the most frustrating or disappointing thing to come out of that game, and what was the biggest positive?
I would say the frustrating part was, how we played offensively. We had been able to carry our young defense for most of the season by playing really sound explosive at times offense, and we didn't. So that was discouraging, the execution level on that side of the ball. And then I think the positive was, our red zone defense continues to play well. We turned the ball over, or we got 2 turnovers and did not turn the ball over, which is why we were in that game. Certainly, our third down offense continues to be pretty good. So I'd say, just overall discouraged in the way that we played on offense as a whole, and then the tackling on defense, but encouraged by our red zone defense and our ability to take the ball away and our third down conversions.
It looked like there was a heated exchange between Keontae and Sam on television in the third quarter, and after that, Roshan kind of got the bulk of the work and did a lot with it. Was there anything?
No, it's news to me. I didn't. I mean, there's plenty of exchanges that happen between players. If it got to the level of, quote, heated, I probably would know about it. So I don't think there's any issue there.
And Roshan, I mean, look on film, anything stand out in a different way from what he's been doing?
Not in a different way. He plays fearless. He plays tough. He plays aggressive. He's got to clean some things up from a protection standpoint. But really like the progress that he's made in whatever it is, 2 months of playing that position.
In the middle, Roger.
Tom, you talked about middle of the season rivalry game. Now you got to turn around and come back home, Kansas team, week off. You've done everything well that you've
We
talked
actually
about.
play a game this week?
You do.
It was
It's kind of like, feels like the LSU press conference after on Monday. There's no looking ahead. But everything you've done wrong against OU, you've done well at some point. Does that make it kind of, I don't want to say easier, but give more confidence moving forward that you can get things fixed?
Yeah. I don't. There is zero sense of panic. There is zero sense of woe is me. There is zero sense of that our issues are unfixable. And that's a good point. I hadn't thought about it that way. But the things that we did do poorly, we have shown at times to be able to do well. And we've got to coach our guys to play with a level of consistency, especially against top 5 opponents, that to play at their maximum ability level, the things that you have seen that we have done so well, we've got to play with that kind of consistency against really, really good people.
Stay in the middle, Bob.
I know since you've been here, you've tried to instill the next man up and no excuses mentality, but when you've gone through what you have with this defense, what's the reality of being able to do that with so many young guys anyway, and then as many injuries as you've had? How difficult is it to really push all of those things when guys know guys are out every week, 4 or 5 guys every week?
Yeah, I never know what answer when we as coaches get asked questions like that is do we expect to say, you know what, we throw our hands up and I don't know if we're even going to field a defense this week. I don't know if we can find 11 guys. No, you figure it out, and we'll figure it out this week with different people on the field, guys that are in our program for a reason, because we feel like we recruited them because they have that ability level, and we've got to now we're on the urgency level to ramp up some of these guys' development is certainly there and round the clock at this point. But there's no other option, right? I mean, there really is not. And so we're going to get the 11 best guys out on the field that we can, and we're going to coach them to the best of our abilities. We're going protect their weaknesses, exploit their strengths, and again, we got to put 11 out there, and the 11 that go out there are going to be the best 11 that Texas has right now.
We're on your left. Danny?
Two quick ones. Do you still expect Jalen and Caden to be out this week?
Yes.
Okay. And who is it? Or is Bimage going to step in for Malcolm? And what does Malcolm's loss, albeit temporary, mean for this defense?
Right. Yeah. He's been very productive, very disruptive, great leader. So it'll have an effect. I would be lying to you if it didn't. We haven't decided who would fill that role. I think it would be either Marquez or Tavondre probably would be the two biggest candidates.
In the middle, Anwar?
Two for me also, real quick. Sam obviously has been battling a rib injury and just like a minor one, and then I know dinged up his shoulder a little bit against West Virginia. He's a little bit more hurt maybe than he's letting on and maybe playing through some pain. And the second one is any possibility we see Jordan Winnington this week?
No and no.
Thank you.
Over here on your left. Donnie?
Coach, you talk a lot about taking the program. Excuse me. You talk a lot about getting the program to take the next step. What kinds of things can you learn from a loss like this that can help you guys take that next step?
Resiliency. There were plenty of times in that game where there could have been a lot of finger pointing, a lot of, hey guys, this might not be our day kind of attitude, and I know that certainly has and could happen to a lot of teams, and this one didn't. They kept fighting. It's a close group of guys that they love each other, they love their coaches, and I think that's probably the biggest takeaway of the confidence level that we can get there and can get there in fairly short order is because we've got a lot of guys that are committed and compelled to fight through adversity, to learn from mistakes, and Kevin Washington, our director of player development, had a great kind of visual. If you're driving down I-35 and you're heading south, and all of a sudden you realize you need to be heading north, it's not just okay to just realize it, right? I mean, you got to do something about it, and doing something about it is getting off the off-ramp, making the U-turn and start heading north. And so I think we're to the point now where a lot of teaching has gone on in those meeting rooms. We are realizing at the player level the things that we need to improve on. And I got the sense yesterday that story or visual kind of resonated with our guys, and that they're ready to get off the off-ramp. Okay, we realize what's going on. Now let's do the things necessary, which is get off the off-ramp, make a U-turn, and head the other direction. Because realizing and understanding is not just enough. You've got to take then those next steps in changing the things that need to be changed. And I think our guys are excited to get back to work to go do that.
Got time for two last ones, Brian and then Joe.
Should Roshan Johnson be your starting tailback?
I don't know. I'll know after this week of practice.
Is it because you don't want to just promote him over Keontae? I mean, the guy's clearly delivering for you.
Yep. So is Keontae. Keontae rushed for 120-something yards against Oklahoma State too. So we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
And then, just help me understand. Head coach is always supposed to be in the even keel. I know that, and I know everybody makes fun of me for asking pound the table questions. But just what's your level of anger right now about how you guys were physically outmatched on Saturday, and that's not how y'all play. Just what's your level of pissed offness right now?
None, other than at myself. It was. You're right. It was the first time that I can remember that we got out physicaled on both sides of the ball, and that's not us. So I'm obviously disappointed in everything, in the way that the game unfolded and the way that we played. But the only anger, I'm not going to get angry at the kids. I'm not going to get, I'll coach the coaches, and the coaches will coach the kids. And, if there's anybody to be angry at, it's me for obviously I didn't do enough to get our guys to play at the level that they're capable of playing.
Last one on the right, Joe.
Joseph Owusu is all over the field, not only making plays, but also in his pre-snap alignment. He seems to be in a bunch of different spots.
Who is that?
Joseph Owusu.
Yeah.
What's his role on this defense, and how do you think that he's done in that role that has him doing so many different things?
Yeah, he's a really smart player. Love his intensity, effort level, leadership. I'm glad he's on our team. I think he's done a great job. It's definitely a tall order. He did have a few assignment errors that we need to clean up, but you're not going to find a guy that plays harder on defense and that is more suited to do multiple things like he is. So really proud of him and his development and where he's come, and to just be a true sophomore at this point in his career. Excited about the future with him too.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, beat Kansas.